Welcome to Chelmsford. You've probably seen these bags and sacks of recycling before, but have you ever wondered what happens to, say, this plastic bottle?
Or this newspaper. Today we're going to take you on a journey to show you what happens to your recycling.
Recycling is nothing new. It is just that there are more and more people on the planet these days creating more and more waste, which forces our need to recycle as much as we can. The first recorded dustmen were the Romans, leading back to the year 220. In teams of two, they would collect the rubbish using a wagon. Waste started to become a big issue at the turn of the 14th century. In London, there was so much waste around that people were employed to rake it up once a week. Most of the waste at this time was organic, meaning it can naturally break down and was taken to Essex marshes to be composted. Since the Industrial Revolution, our waste has increased significantly. The type of waste we create has changed a lot too, following the introduction of man-made plastics and the demand to transport goods all around the world. Chelmsford City Council has been collecting rubbish from households for over 100 years. Materials such as metal and paper have also been collected separately during this period by the Rag and Bone Man and charities such as the Salvation Army. Chelmsford City Council responded to this by introducing a household paper recycling collection service, and collections for other materials such as glass, cans, plastics, cardboard and food waste then followed. Which leads us to
Modern day recycling in Chelmsford. Here we separate our materials to make sure none of them go to landfill.
Landfill is a hole in the ground which is very quickly running out. Also, materials such as tins and plastics come from natural resources. If we just throw everything away, then these resources will run out. This is why it's so important to recycle.
We collect lots of different materials from the houses in Chelmsford. Paper, such as newspaper and comics. Cardboard, such as egg boxes or tissue boxes. Plastics, such as food trays and milk cartons. Tins, cans, glass and foil. Textiles, such as clothing and paired shoes. Garden waste, such as leaves and grass. And even food waste from all your scraps that you may leave on your plate.
And have you ever wondered how the large vehicles that collect all of this operate? Here's Dave, one of our vehicle technicians, to tell you more.
Our job is to maintain and repair all the vehicles on the council fleet. That ranges from refuse collection vehicles to every single vehicle with specialist bodies and equipment that the council owns. This particular one is a split lift and it's used for recycling. One side, this side, is used for paper collection and the other side is used for plastic collection. And when the vehicle is fully loaded, it will weigh 26 tonnes. The engine on this vehicle drives a hydraulic pump, and the hydraulic pump puts hydraulic oil into rams, and the rams can exert immense pressure and they will compress the rubbish. So we call this type of body a compactor, but you might call it something that crushes rubbish up and squeezes it nice and tight, which is exactly what it does.
Remember the plastic bottle and the newspaper? It is now time for these to be collected by a collection vehicle. Let's see what happens to them now.
This is 1 round's worth of paper collected from Chelmsford. It will remain here until it's transported to the paper mill.
Chelmsford recycles 5,000 tonnes of paper a year. However, we still see paper that could be recycled in the wheelie bin, and this will end up going to landfill. The paper we collect from your home needs to be clean and free from food waste in order for it to be recycled. The paper is added to water, and this turns the paper into a pulp, just like paper mache. Soap and bubbles are added to remove the ink, and this process is called de-inking. The paper is then stretched out on giant rollers where it travels at 64 miles per hour, and this machine can make 1 mile of paper in just 1 minute. The paper is dried out in another machine and then put onto reels which weigh 40 tonnes and measure 9.5 metres long, the equivalent of a double-decker bus. The recycling process of an old newspaper leaving your home to becoming a new newspaper in a shop or being delivered to your door can take as little as 7 days.
And this is about 5 rounds worth of plastic and cartons collected in Chelmsford. These are now taken over to our material sorting facility. Here, we sort the plastics and cartons into different grades. We then squash the plastics into cubes called bales. This makes it much easier to transport them to the recycling processing factory. Our plastic bottles are taken to a reprocessing factory in Dagenham, which is a short journey down the motorway from Chelmsford. Once our plastic bales have been delivered, the first job is to separate the bales. Each bale typically contains 12,500 bottles and are broken up by 6 large rotating corkscrews. Now that the bottles are loose, they pass through the trommel, a rotating drum. The trommel removes small bits of rubbish, such as stones and dirt, as well as any lids and caps that have come off the bottles. An infrared sensor sorts the bottles by type of plastic and whether they are clear or coloured. The sorted bottles are now cut and chopped into flakes. The flakes are treated at high temperature and low pressure and then processed into pellets. The pellets are now transported to a packaging plant ready to be made into new bottles. Some of the recycled material is used here at Britvic Soft Drinks in Chelmsford. On a single production line, up to 36,000 drinks are produced every hour. The bottles begin as a small preform before being blown up into bottle shapes that we recognise in the shops. The bottles are then filled with drink. The lid and the labels are applied before passing through quality control and the expiry date is added. Once the plastic film is wrapped around a crate of bottles, they are ready to be transported to the shops. All of the waste packaging is either reused or recycled.
So now that we have seen how our paper and plastics are recycled, what happens to our other materials that we collect?
Although made from trees, just like paper, cardboard is collected separately as it is of lower quality, but it is still excellent for recycling. Card is often recycled into new packaging, plasterboard and insulation for our homes.
Cans and foil are simply melted down and moulded into new shapes.
And aluminium can also be used to make cars and even aeroplanes.
Glass can be recycled virtually forever. First, glass has to be sorted into different colours. Then, it is crushed and melted into new shapes. Glass is commonly recycled back into new jars and bottles, but can also be used to build roads and pavements.
Textiles like old clothing and shoes are reused where possible, which is actually better than recycling. All clothing and shoes in good condition are cleaned and sent away to be worn by people in lesser developed countries. Bedsheets and clothing in poor condition can be used as rags or insulation.
Garden waste like cut grass and fallen leaves are collected and taken to a big composting facility. Here, the grass and leaves will decompose and in time turn into a soil improver for the garden, which helps grow new plants.
All of our food waste can be recycled, cooked or raw. It is collected and taken to a recycling facility called an anaerobic digester. Here, the food waste is broken down and biogas is created. This gas can generate electricity and help power everything in our homes, like TVs, game consoles and lighting.
So that completes the journey of what happens to all the materials that we put out for recycling. And remember, it's important to recycle as much as we can.
If you have any questions or are unsure where to put a material, please refer to your easy guide.
Or visit our website at www.chelmsford.gov.uk/recycling.